Stop.
Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays. This is April, where we're going to talk all about money. And today is a Q&A, so bring all your money questions to the table. We even have some that people have submitted, so we're going to go with who's live and then maybe add those questions in as well if they're not answered. But with that, I will pass this off to Gretchen.
Thank you, Christy. And I know that we have this new closed captioning enabled tonight. Is there anything that people need to do to make that work on their end?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
You should be able, if not, we are testing this feature today. You should be able to click show captions at the bottom near where there's like reactions or whatnot. If you don't see that, let me know. We are testing this today, but hopefully everybody can have captions if they want them.
If you want them. Okay, good deal. Well, hi, coaches. It's great to see you all. It's April. We're here and we're going to talk about money. So today really is a Q&A. I will answer any question that you have when it comes to money, because I know for many of us, whether you're a coach, and I know on this call you are, but whether my clients are coaches or not coaches, money brings up feelings, money brings up questions, money can bring up resistance, and money can bring up stories. And so as we are thinking about that, and as we are thinking about everything having to do with money, let's frame this up a little bit. Something that I'm wondering for all of you is, one, and maybe Christy type these just so they can remember, what gets in the way of you earning the money that you want to earn as a coach? Secondly, think about, when is it easiest for you to earn money? All right. And let's really think about these things, and we can start the discussion there. And then I am happy to answer any of your questions that come up anyway, but I feel like those are a good place to start when we are thinking about money. So what gets in the way of you earning the money that you want to earn? Because sometimes it's not that you're not earning anything, but you might not be earning what you would like to earn.
Right.
And we create some beliefs around that. We have some stories around it, those sorts of things. So I think that talking about that might be helpful. And then noticing, well, when is it easy to earn money? When is it really comfortable to earn money? You might not be there yet. Maybe it's never been easy to earn money. Maybe it was easy to earn money in a different career. But if we can see what some of those attributes are, we might be able to help you bring them into your coaching profession. So with that, let's just start with this talking about, what gets in the way for you when it comes to earning the money that you would like to earn?
I think something I've realized through these last couple of months is my own estimation of my value. Being able to ask for that amount of money and confidence and know that I can do the quality work that I would consider worth that if I were paying that, so maybe some comparison to if I paid, a large amount, really feeling like it was worth it because of the quality of the work or knowledge I was obtaining. So I think a lot around value and really struggling with whether or not I feel personally if I'm worth that value, which I think is a much deeper issue than anything we can resolve here tonight. But I have recently really been able to acknowledge that for myself, which was a big step.
Congratulations on that big step too. And it's interesting that value comes up and worth comes up, and we all have something a little bit different when it comes to money and what keeps us from earning the money that we want to earn. So for you, the story of worth is there, and it's just important to pay attention to. And as we're talking about money too, it will be really interesting even to capture the words that we're using to describe money and our relationships with money, because they can also and often sound like our love relationships, the same ways we feel in our love relationships or our personal relationships. So it's very interesting how important the money relationship is. So thank you, Maria. Who else wants to share? What stands in the way of you being able to make money, the kind that you would like to earn. Susan, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say,
Oh, Susan, then Brad.
Thank you. Sorry, Brad. Didn't see
No
you
worries.
coming in. Okay, so one of the things that gets in my way is I am giving a service. It's an intangible versus selling a product. A product is a physical, tangible object. You sell widgets. People know what a widget is. They can touch it, see it, smell it, taste it. But I'm selling a service. That's an intangible.
Mm-hmm. So if you follow that deeper with the service being intangible, it's harder for you to earn money because, follow that through. What's the because?
Because it's hard to describe what coaching is as I can't get around the word selling a service. It's hard to sell something that people will have to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it feels harder because the experience is not something that you can easily describe because everyone receives an experience differently. You could tell someone you're going to go on a hot air balloon ride. And while they think they know what it is and they have the idea of the hot air balloon and they're either terrified or elated by it, it's a very different experience for each person. Where if you say, I'm selling vacuum cleaners, people understand what a vacuum cleaner is and what it does, right? So the ambiguity of it is getting in the way.
With a tangible object, you can sell benefits and features.
Yes. Yeah.
With an intangible, like as a service, it's much more difficult to come up with languaging that has measurement or has concreteness to it. I'm struggling with it, but your analogy of an air balloon and a vacuum cleaner is apt.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's just good to notice your story of what gets in your way. And there's no right or wrong with this. No right or wrong and no judgment. It's just, this is what it is for you. Brad, what about you? You had unmuted. Go ahead. It's your turn.
yeah, I was gonna say, I felt, I think similar to what Maria was saying, sort of like value. I think I'm newly discovering that for myself. And then also, while working the full-time job right now, time, I think, gets in the way.
Yeah.
Or not time, or just at the end of the day, I'm done and I don't want to do the next thing. I want to relax a little bit or whatever it is, So
Yeah. So the part that you've already put in your work for the day, you're done and you need to relax, and the other part with the value. So those
Yeah.
are some of the things that are on the table. Thank you for that, Brad. Does anyone else want to share what gets in the way of you earning the money that you would like? And if not, no problem. Okay, so let's pivot to the next question, because this is really important. When we're thinking about what gets in the way, at the end of it, the summary of it is my story about value, worth, widgets, service, but it's two words, my story on any of these things. So it's the way that we see it is what's getting in the way. And it creates obstacles. But when we can think about times in our life when making money was easy and or comfortable, whatever you want to, however you want to think about that, when was that for you? And did you ever have it? For some people, it's never been easy. And so that's telling as well. Again, no right or wrong, but good to look at our patterning. For anyone, was there ever a time that earning money was just easy? Not really, not hard, no hustle really involved, just pretty easy to do.
I think it felt easy in my corporate job. I knew what my responsibilities were. I did them. I enjoyed them. It was easy for me. My salary would go up each year. You would have evaluations, get ratings, and with that came an increase in pay. That was easy. I didn't have to do anything to make that happen. So, this is totally different.
You know, but what's interesting is you said you didn't have to do anything to make it happen, but you did have to show up for work. You did have to do the job and the different skills that went with it. I wonder if what was easy was that the frame was there. You knew
Good
what was
catch.
expected.
Good
Yeah.
catch.
Does
Yes.
that
It was
resonate?
mindless. I really didn't have to think about it, but it was work that I was very well suited for. So great catch. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Work that you were well suited for, but you knew that your bills would be paid regardless.
Yeah.
You could show up in a good mood or a bad mood, take a sick day, whatever it is, and that it was still going to be there. Where with coaching, unless you work for a company that supplies you with clients or you're on their payroll in some way, it is self-motivated and self-discipline. We have to come up with what we are going to do in order to earn our living. Where if you apply for a job, they pay you for your living. It's different. Yeah. Okay. Who else? When was it easy?
Maria stole mine again.
So you and Maria maybe should pair up at some point. That's really good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like I'm in it right now. Like the job is, you know, it's paying the bills and earning the money and all of that. And you know, I got paid to go on the cruise. I've got unlimited vacation. It's, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's
it's
pretty
good.
nice. And so
Yeah.
part of what I'm hearing for both of you about what's making it easy is the piece about it's steady. It's steady and it's safe. Steady and safe, and it's going to be there. Where when you're an entrepreneur, until you get it going, it doesn't feel quite as steady and maybe not quite as safe. All right.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Brad. Sandy, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have been working for myself for as long as I can remember. So I've never had that corporate, well, I can't say I've never had that corporate job. So for me, it seems to be easier when my clients or customers come to me rather than me having to go out and search for them, you know, on platforms or a storefront or whatever, where I create, where they come to me. It's a whole lot easier.
Okay. So the easy part again, the other theme that I'm hearing here is not having to find your clients. You get paid regardless. All of you get paid regardless. So when we're thinking about this, then the part that's hard and that might be getting in your way of earning the money that you would like to is learning the art of client creation and being comfortable with the client creation. Regardless, you know, that yes, we are the ones, when you have any kind of a business, whether it's vacuums, hot air balloons, or coaching, you still have to get the word out there. You still have to be able to talk about what you do in a way that engages people. And so when we're thinking about that with money, let's talk about what keeps you from engaging with people to talk about coaching, because that has every single thing to do with your money. So what stops you from talking about people, not talking about people, don't do that. Talking to people about coaching, engaging with people.
Well, I'm going to be the first one to say this again. It's really my confidence that what I have to say or share will be of interest to them. So it's easy for me when I know what they're interested in and it's something I'm passionate about and I can speak about comfortably. It's easy. You don't always run into people like that, or I have not always run into that. So if it's something that I don't really feel a connection that I would have, what I love most about client creation is the whole process of really looking for and working with people that are in line with, you know, the type of people that I would be successful and effective with. I think you don't always know that at first. So it's really about having that conversation to connect and listen, ask great questions, learn about people, because then you could find out that, oh, yes, this is someone who may be interested in what I have to offer. What I've learned recently is I haven't even assertively pursued those kinds of conversations. So I never get to that point.
Mm-hmm. And what keeps you from pursuing those types of conversations?
You know, it's interesting. I found this out recently. It's probably a lot of self-talk around, oh, they probably wouldn't be interested in this, or, I'm making up all of these assumptions and I don't even know that.
Very
So I'm realizing that there are assumptions that I'm making, and you really never know. It's getting comfortable with just initiating conversation and connecting and asking questions.
Yeah, good. And so part of this for everyone, it's about doing contrary action. Contrary action, contrary to how you might feel, contrary to what you might think, but instead doing it anyway. So when you have the thought, well, I don't have anyone to reach out to, contrary action, who do you have to reach out to? If you couldn't not have anyone to reach out to, who do you have to reach out to? You have at least one person. If we can do the contrary action of, I don't know how to talk about coaching. You do know how to talk about coaching. You're just uncomfortable. So it's not true that you don't know how to talk about coaching. If we tell the truth, you're uncomfortable talking about coaching because you're really talking about yourself. And so at the end of the day, it feels like you're selling yourself rather than serving. And that's one of the keys that gets in the way to us being successful with our money. When we think, well, I'm selling myself, then we're worried. We're in our social self rather than our professional self that is always concerned with serving. Social self is concerned with selling who they are. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. What are you hearing in that? Rebecca, how about you? Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just nodding because I feel like it's been like a big reminder that I've been putting forward of service and not selling, and recently kind of had a breakthrough of just reconnecting to myself of what, in a way, like if I'm going to serve someone, I have to be authentically me in everything that I do. And so it like unlocked a big insight, and it's been like ridiculously interesting to see the change. So it's been cool.
Okay. Good. So here's the deal. As you are thinking about all of this, I want you on your own time to answer the question, how can I make it easy? How can I make it easy? And if we want, we could do a little bit of that right now, but I do want to make sure that I save time for your money questions. So Christy, maybe write that down so that if we do have time at the end, or if it's a little bit dead with the questions, we can go back to that. But it's something that would be helpful to you. So when I posed this question to myself, when I started a long time ago of how can I make it easy? What I thought about is, well, where could this be fun? Who are the people that I already know that it's easy to talk to? And where can I make it easy? Well, I can make it easy if I let go of the story that nobody wants to hear about it. I can make it easy if I let go of the story that I'm selling Gretchen instead of serving the client. How else can I make it easy? So there's going to be a list for you. Maybe you only get 2 things on that list. Lean into one of them. How can you make it easy? We are always fighting ourselves. That's what it is. We're just fighting ourselves. And as we're fighting ourselves, we're the ones that get jumbled up, and then it's not easy. Anyone have any comments on that? Thoughts? Okay, let's open it up for questions. So what are some of the questions that you have about money? All questions can be answered. Ask whatever you want. Susan.
You've been talking, as far as I know, exclusively about one-to-one coaching. Would you be able to talk about group coaching and pricing for that?
Yes, 100%. Let's talk about it. Tell me the group. You give me the scenario and I'll give you something.
Okay, so these are my ideal clients. These are STEM women, and I've approached them for one-on-one coaching, and either they freak out with the money for individuals. So now I'm thinking, okay, step back. Let's try group coaching as a way to get them more comfortable with what coaching is and comfortable with me. And then along the way, introduce one-to-one, either as part of the package or whatever. So I go online and I take a look and see what's out there. And it seems like the ratio is 1/3 of what our current rates are, is what you should be charging for 3 months of group coaching. So if you charge $3,000 for 3 months of one-on-one, it should be $1,000 for group coaching per person for 3 months.
Maybe. And here's the thing. It's really all made up with the pricing. The way that I personally do it is I think always about what would I invest in this? What would I myself invest in this? That would make me a little bit uncomfortable. Because then I know that the person's gonna really show up if they're a little bit uncomfortable. And then I ask myself, what would I invest in this that wouldn't make me uncomfortable? And then I think about what's the transformation that's going to happen in this group and how does the group add to that? So when we have a group, yes, it's a great way for people to experience you, but I like to have groups that pour into each other. So some people have groups where the group doesn't really interact. We're all just faces on Zoom and they don't really have a lot of other interaction. I don't find those groups helpful. For me, I think that they're boring and I don't know, that's just me. Some people really like it. You will see groups that have like 300 people in it. That's not the kind of group that I thrive in. So the next thing I think about is what kind of a group do I thrive in? Because when you create something that you connect to, it's easier to come up with your price. And so I also think of the length, how long is it for? So for something that's 3 months, how many times are you meeting with them in the 3 months? Is it 6 times? Probably it's 6 times would be my guess. How many hours and how many other people are in the group? Is there going to be any individual with it? What is actually happening? Because some groups, it's more of a check-in. That's one price. Some groups, it's that they're going to learn a certain set of skills. That's worth something different. Some groups, they come with their own agenda and it's a mastermind. That's something different. So there's no hard or fast rule to how you do it. It's really value of what is this group going to create. So in mastermind groups, I know that those groups, if they come prepared in the way that we set it up, they are probably going to earn, I would like to say a significant amount of money, but some amount of money that will make it worth it for them to pay a higher fee. Maybe they're going to get some contacts that they wouldn't have. Maybe there will be people in the group who can pour into their business. Maybe someone in the group knows someone that they need to talk to. Those for me are a little bit higher fee. If the group comes with any kind of individual coaching as well as group coaching, it's higher fee. But if it's just group, it's only going to be group with nothing outside of it. Maybe only a Facebook group, but there's not any guest speakers. There's not pods or buddies or anything like that. It would be a lower fee. And so it could be exactly what you're saying. And I love your mathematical mind that you base it off of 1/3. You could start with that and see if that's a good engagement, but please think of your beginning, middle, and end. They come like this. These things happened or are learned, and you're hoping that they get whatever the result is. Was that helpful, Susan?
It's getting there. It's the way that I see group coaching is it seems it's a more efficient process, less time for me and more bang for my buck.
Mm-hmm.
But it is more risk in that it's several levels of facilitation plus coaching. And I think it's a higher risk, but the return I think is better.
It could be. And here's what I'll say to that. Enrolling people for groups is not easier than enrolling them for one-on-one. It takes the exact same amount of time. And sometimes more, to be quite honest. Sometimes you have to do a mini series beforehand or some free workshops or some kind of talks. Then you have to talk to them individually if it's over $5,000, your program, most of the time, sometimes even over $3,000. Then they want more things. They want resources and whatever else. So you have to build that. It's not as easy as one and done. All of my groups, I put an immense amount of time into, and then you have to create the curriculum or whatever is going to happen within the group as well. Then there's the group dynamic. Then there's making sure people are happy within the group. Then there's tracking if the group's progressing. So it seems like more bang for your buck, but I will tell you, from all of the people that I've ever helped do groups and the groups that I've done myself, it doesn't really, the time is not less. It's just not. There's so much that goes into having an effective, well-oiled machine for a group that's working well. And most of the time, the reason people do groups is in the hopes that at the end, people from the group will work with them at a higher fee. So there's that part of it as well. And some of it is just, what do you enjoy? I always like having a group running because I love the group dynamic. And I love having individual coaching. I don't usually only have one or the other. There's almost always a group running with my other coaching just because of the way my mind works and what I enjoy. But play with it. I would encourage you, go for it for your 90-day group that you want to do. Charge the $3,000 for it for the 6 2-hour sessions or whatever it's going to be. Come up with your beginning, middle, and end. Give yourself enough time to enroll, though. Thank you, Susan.
I was going to ask, how long do you give for setting the enrollment period? 2-3
Yeah.
months, 4 months?
2-3 months or 4 months. Yeah. Yes. So Stairway to Six, we start soft enrollment in September, I think, for the January program. Really heavy on the enrollment and the mini series and all of that, September, October. And then a little more of the freebies, get coaching with me if you sign up by this date, November and December. And then there's always a mad rush the week that people are, the week of the program. Almost everybody from this Stairway to Six joined about the week of. I was a little bit like, are we going to have Stairway to Six this year? What's happening? I only had maybe 2 or 3, and then everyone joined the week of. So you need time. And then you also need to know that there's going to be people who frantically join at the end. When you don't give it enough time, you don't get a lot of enrollments. You really have to warm it up.
Marketing.
Marketing, talking, having conversations, all of it. It's a lot of touch points. So really thinking about, how do you want to do that? And we're going to do this. This is going to be a whole module in May for the people that are here that are in Stairway to Six, and Sandy's been in it before, so she knows anyway. But this is something that we're going to do and that we're going to go over. What else are you guys wondering about money, pricing, money, how to ask for money?
I did have a question. You mentioned going a little bit outside of your comfort zone of what you would want to pay, right?
Mhm.
So if, say, mine's 5,000, I might want to go to like 5,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any other, I guess I'm kind of answering my own question. I just need to figure out what that is for me.
Yeah. What is it for you? And here's the thing. I like to have room, I like to have room in programs. When I first did my programs, if I knew that someone couldn't pay whatever the real fee was, I knew what my bottom line fee was, that it was like, well, I could take off $500 and it's fine, because that was my stretch anyway. But I knew what my bottom was, that was like, but I'm not going to do it for less than this. And for some coaches, the fee is just the fee. There's nothing wrong with that, either pay it or don't. And they came up with a reason as to why that is. So there's no right or wrong on pricing. It's just a matter of what's going to work for you, that you can feel like you respect yourself for putting it out there. And sometimes in the beginning, we do something that's kind of low fee just to test it. We just want to see, does it even work? Does it even work? You know, is this even something that I can do? Do I
Okay.
like it? Where are the bumps?
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Other questions about money, pricing, what to do? Susan?
Do you ever have a client that's not happy with the coaching and wants their money back? I know you say no refunds. I know you've said that in the contract.
Yep.
But somebody said, you know, this just isn't working for me and da 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 da.
Yes. Okay. So depends on the circumstance. All right. It depends on the circumstance. I do have a no refund policy. If the person is just not showing up, that's on them. That's on them. They can recommit at any time. Their contract is from this date to this date. They can decide to engage themselves at any time. I will not give a refund for that. I have had people, and only a few in my career, so thank God, right? Because this doesn't happen often. It's really uncomfortable. Like, this is the place for me with money that it can be really uncomfortable. I have had people that during the coaching relationship, it became really volatile, and I was not enjoying coaching them any more than they were enjoying being coached by me. You know, when that has happened, I refund whatever's left of the agreement. One time it was because I told the person, you know, here's what I'm seeing. It seems like, you know, there's not a lot of progress that's being made. Tell me what's happening for you. And I referred them to somebody else. And I said, hey, I'm going to refund your money. Call these 3 people and let me know how that goes. We ended on really good terms. With another woman, really, it was my own fault. I should have seen her pattern in the very beginning, but I didn't, you know, or I didn't want to see it, or I didn't slow down enough to see it. So with that one, I gave money back. I was a little bit upset about it, but I was happier to just give it back and be done. You will do an assessment on yourself of, is this person just copping out, or is this really just not a good fit, or is this person, you know, shouldn't be coached? They really need to be in therapy or wherever they might need to be. Those are all possibilities. But over the course of 7 years, I think it's happened 4 times for me. So thank God, because it won't happen very often for you either. It just usually doesn't. Helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Ask.
Well, I just had 2 clients in that ballpark.
What happened?
Well, one is off to a therapist. So
Mhm.
we're taking some space. And we had an agreement that we had an agreement about meeting so many times a month. And I would bill him at the end of the month, and that was fine. He paid, no problem. But we agreed to pause. And I had the same situation with the second client, but we just weren't quite connected. Right.
Say that you just worked. I missed the last part. It got gurgled.
Quite connecting.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to work on self-esteem issues. And I finally got what he was getting, but he had found a program on his own. And my thought was, you know what? Looks like a great program. Work through it on yourself. Do the worksheets, do the negative self-talk with the positive self-talk. And he finally said, well, you know, let's just take a pause for a month. I've got other things I want to work on, but this is important to me now. So I said that, yeah, fine.
Okay. Yeah.
My other problem with money, as I have the 2 clients that I went through the initial discovery enrollment session and stuff, and they've just, one's like, it's around career coaching. They both want to change careers, and they're like, I think they're just distracted by shiny objects.
Could be.
And they're really not committed.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
So I'll have to play that one out, but I'm going back to your previous session. If they're not committed to coaching, they're not a good client.
They're not a good client. I'm glad that you remember that, Mark. And here's the other part too of something that might help for everyone when it comes to pricing, and you, because you brought it up. Getting paid up front works better because then the client isn't coming and wondering, well, is this going to work? Instead, they're wondering, how am I going to make this work? It's different when they haven't paid and they pay for it after. Well, is this kind of like if the guy comes over to clean the carpets and you're like, well, I mean, I guess I'll pay you $100, but I still see a spot over here. You're mad about it. But if you pay up front, you're like, hey, you point everything out because you want to make sure you get your investment. So it's the same thing in coaching, that when I've already paid for the yoga class, I'm going to go and make sure I have a great yoga class. If I'm going to pay after, I might be like, well, it wasn't that good. I like Shelly better as my teacher. Have them pay upfront. It will make them committed to the process in a different way. Instead of them expecting you to fix them, have their answers for them, make it perfect, they show up ready to go. Who else? Other questions or comments?
Oh, one other follow-up
Yeah.
comment. I did have one client. I'm going to call it a small business corporate client.
Mhm.
The business paid for the coaching.
Mhm.
I got the money,
Great.
but because the client didn't have skin in the game,
Mhm.
it didn't work out well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the client, I have somebody else, son got laid off. We're going to hire a coach to help him with career coaching and I'll pay for it. And that doesn't work out either.
It really does.
They've got to put money in the game personally, whether mom and dad are going to pay for it or not.
Yes.
And that's the whole.
So sometimes this does happen either with a corporate client or parents paying for their child to be coached. When it's a corporate client, I send out a pre-questionnaire and I ask them, how do you feel about coaching? Is this something you're being sentenced to? Are you dreading it? Are you only doing it because the company said to? Are you excited? And I won't coach them until they send it back. And I tell the person hiring me, I'm not going to coach. I'm not going to say yes to this coaching agreement until I get the answers back and I've had one coaching session with them. If the coaching session is a no-go, if it's a non-start, I don't charge the client for it. It's fine. It's just, it wasn't a good start. And I get to know that. That way it's not one of those that I feel weird that I've been paid this money, but the client isn't showing up in the way that they need to. When it's a teenager, often, or a young adult, 20 something, oftentimes when that happens, I'll do the same thing with the teenager. Do you feel like you're grounded? Or the 20-year-old, like, what about this? Why are you doing this? Well, my parents said I have to. Okay, what's going to make this something for you so that you're going to show up and you're going to be prepared? What's going to happen for you? So you can get the buy-in, but you have to ask a lot of questions around it. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Rebecca, I see your hand.
I have a question about, I'm curious from your perspective, what is the breakdown of income for a very prosperous coach? Because I think there's one-on-one coaching, there's group coaching, there's workshops, there's teaching courses, there's passive income, which I'm always a little curious about what that really means. And I'm curious, like, what even is the breakdown of where to invest energy and time into? Because I feel I'm like suspicious that passive income and groups, for example, you just explaining that, is a lot of time for potentially low returns.
It is. Yes. So I love this question. Here's how I'll answer it. I'm not saying that I have the right answer. This is just the answer that's coming through for me. For a prosperous coach lives a life that's exciting to them. A prosperous coach is really happy with their schedule. When they look at what they have that day, that week, that month, they don't dread any of it. They're like, yeah, oh, I get to do this group if that's what they're doing. Oh, I have this person on Thursday. Yay. That's when you're really prosperous in coaching. What's happened is you're not taking on any of the B or C level clients, the ones that pay the bills, but you're not feeling any excitement about. And you're living a life with a schedule that you're happy with. That's part of the being prosperous. So I think it's the same thing as like each individual has a different code of what excites them. You would have to know what excites you. What's fun for you? For a long time, I only did one-on-one coaching. It was fun. And then I was getting bored. I really was. It was kind of like, I know that everyone has a different personality that I'm talking to when I'm coached, but same thing every time, what would you like to work on today? How will you know you have that? Doing the coaching, then to the next person. That's when I decided to add a group. And then from there, what I realized was I wanted to try an intensive, a deep experience with one person to see how that was. And it was something that I made individualized just for that person. So depending on what they needed coaching on, and it was like maybe 6 hours or a 2-day. Sometimes I take them places when we do it. It really just depends, but those were really fun. So now when I'm looking at my calendar and I see I have VIP days coming up or Stairway to Six or Coaching for Coaches or my 4 clients who I had today, I'm excited about it. It's like, oh, good. I get to talk to, X, Y, and Z at 3:00. Great. That'll be a good conversation. So you won't know until you get in it and do it. But what I will say is if your body already feels dread about something, that's not the thing to do. Forever, I was like, I'm never doing an evergreen. I don't care about that. That feels like a lot of work. Where am I marketing it? What am I doing? And then Christy was like, no, let's package up the mini series. Let's just package it up and see what happens. You record them anyway, super easy. We tried it. I don't do a lot to market it, but it's done, but it wasn't ever going to be me sitting down doing a series of videos because I'd rather jump out the window. Like that sounds terrible. Now, some people love that. So you have to go with what feels exciting to you and what's going to help you feel vibrant. That's what's going to create your prosperity as a coach. So I wish I had like 25% this, 32% that. There's nothing. What I can tell you though is to be a prosperous coach, you always need prospective calls happening. You should still have a percentage of your business depending on how busy you are with the prospective calls, or else there's no coaching business. Make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. All right. A few more questions. What else are you wondering about money? And you can ask me, what do people charge? Like whatever you want. What are you really wanting to know?
I have a question. It's more along the lines of, I like having the conversations with coaching. But the lead generation and all of that work, right? And it shows up as work to me, at least right now. I've been thinking about following an excitement of like, what would it be like just to have some other company bring those in?
Sure.
And then have those conversations. Obviously, I want to make sure it's the right type of person and an ideal type of, client that I'm excited to work with. But I didn't know if you've had any experience with that as well.
Feeling that way or working for other companies?
I haven't basically having like a lead generation company, send you leads.
Yeah. So I haven't necessarily done that, but a lot of coaches do, especially in the beginning, because it's a good way to grow your coaching skills. It's a good way to get your hours for becoming an ACC or a PCC, whatever it is that you're collecting. And it's a good way to get your confidence up. And for some people, they just don't like the part of having to find clients. They're not going to do it. Doesn't matter how many times they read The Prosperous Coach or take a Stairway to Six or whatever it is. It's not a skill set that they are willing to put the time into because, like you said, it feels like work or it's too overwhelming or whatever the reason is. There are coaching companies out there. There's one called BetterUp that you can be a part of. They send people clients all the time. Now, they don't pay well, that's the part. They do not pay well. So I want to say the coaches make $50 to $75, something like that. It's low, but you didn't have to do anything for it. You get paid, so there is that. And then there are other companies, depending on your level of coaching credential that can pay the upwards of $250 to $300 an hour. And they do all of the marketing and they're, your kind of just the 1099 who comes through and does that. It's not a bad way to do it. It's not a bad way to build a business if it's something you enjoy, is really the people and the coaching part, but not necessarily the business development part. So there's no right or wrong with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Check it out, check it out, some of those coaching placement companies, Brad, and just see what you think. Try one and see what you think. You never have to do it forever. You could do it, 2 times. And if you don't like it, don't do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Maria,
Thank you for bringing that up. I've been very isolated. So in terms of contacts, I've been starting from scratch. So for our program, I've been reaching out to people I worked with or knew before. But what are some of the other companies? Like I've worked with Numi, and I've worked with Numi for years, but the
Okay, here you go.
quality.
I put these are the
Did
ones I
you?
know about. Yeah, I just put them in the
Okay.
chat.
Thank you.
Low paying are Better Up in Lyra. Mid is this one called Waldron. The ones who pay the most are Coach, Source, and Right Management. Now, I don't know what any of the qualifications are for any of them. I don't know,
I
but
know with Better Up, it's almost impossible to even get considered to be a coach for Better. I guess they have too many
Is it?
coaches now.
I'm
Yeah.
shocked by that only
Yeah.
because they pay so low. They pay so incredibly low that I'm shocked that it's hard to become a coach for them.
Well, I've tried 3 times
Mhm.
and I've
Me
been
too.
declined each time. I've talked to my other colleagues who are Better Up coaches. And the upside is that when you go through Better Up, they give you a lot of structure. There's a very precise way that they want you to coach. So there's very little creativity.
Right.
There's just a churn rate. I mean, that you could have 8, 10 clients a day if you choose.
Yeah, so that's a nice amount of money.
It is, but I'll tell you, $60 to $75 an hour, it starts to get old very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So, but this is the list that I know about, so happy to be able to share that. Chrissy, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Nice to see you. You're square here tonight too. And you're welcome, Maria. Anyone else? We probably have time for 1 or 2 more questions.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I would love to hear again just a refresh of when you say the price at the end, when they ask for the price, and then there's kind of silence, or they're like, I need to think about it. What's the segue? Because I think that's where I get deer in headlights. I'm so excited that we got to the price point, and then
Okay.
we're frozen. So I'd love to just get a little refresher.
So the person says, so what do you charge? The first thing you want to do is slow it down and say, I'm really glad we're here. I do have a few requirements. First one is that you're ready and you talk about what that means. Second is that you're committed, because this is more than just a financial commitment. From everything that I have heard you say during this call, my highest recommendation is 90-day program, and tuition for this program is $3,000. Be quiet at that point. What the person is going to say is, well, that's a lot of money. I have to think about it. I have to check with my accountant, my dog, my wife, my husband, whatever it is. I need a new roof. I need a car. What they're going to say all sorts of things. You don't say anything. You're just quiet and you let them say all the stuff that is in their head. They're just saying it out loud. That's all. You're just watching how they process. You're watching the fear. You're hearing the fear. Don't buy into it. It's all okay. Typically, if that's a lot of money or something like that, what I say is it is. And I wouldn't want you to do it unless you were 100% sure it was going to work for you. Let's coach. Today, we were just connecting and getting to know each other. And it's actually one of my requirements so that you can experience coaching before you sign up, because I want you to be 100% sure that this is what you want. And typically they're like, really? We can coach first? Yeah, let's coach. And if it works, great. And if not, that's okay too. And then you coach them, and it's much easier at that point to talk about the investment. And remember, with your follow-up, it sounds like we're going to work on your vision and you restate what the vision was. Week after week, we're going to work on a strategy that supports that vision. We're going to take a look at the obstacles, the blocks, your mindset that's getting in the way of you living in that vision. We're going to do an energy audit, and I'm going to give you resources, and then you can talk about tuition for this program is, or if you send that in an email, it helps them to remember. But I have them write it down while we're talking so that they know what it is that's on the table. Helpful?
Yes, yes. I think what I've been receiving is, or what I've noticed is an immediate, I just need to think about it.
Yeah, and
then
people do need to think about it. So what you say is you should think about it because coaching is serious work. And you shouldn't do it if you're not ready or committed. I'm actually trying to talk people out of things before working with them. It's like, yeah, and you don't do it if you're not ready, but you're not going to know until we coach, because today we were just getting to know each other. You have no idea what coaching with me is like. Let's see if we're a good fit before you decide anything.
Mhm.
And that disarms people. That's the other piece of it. It really disarms when they're like, oh, but I thought we were coaching. No, we were just getting to know each other. This was just to see if you're even a candidate for coaching. Sounds like you are, but let's do it first so that you even know what coaching is with me. It's different with every coach. I see your hand, Sandy. Hold on one second. What are you thinking, Rebecca?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. I think this is even after we do the coaching session. So it's
Okay. So after the coaching session, remember, you want these to be separate calls. Connection call, they ask about the price, you invite them to the coaching call because it's one of your requirements. At the end, you're going to be the one to firm it up. You're going to end and say, how was that for you? What did you get? What are you going to be working on? What shifted for you? So you find out, what do you want to commit to as a result of this session? Really get in there with the person, and then you wait, be quiet, let them squirm, and they have to make the first move of what they're going to ask. Are they asking how much it is? Are they asking how to work together? Are they saying thank you? That's going to be your cue for what comes next. If it's just a thank you, you get to say you're welcome, and if this is something that you feel interested in, you're going to let me know, that you take it totally off the table. Sometimes they say, well, how much is it? Or can you tell me how this works? Then you get into those details. But at the beginning of the conversation, you set it up with one of three things are going to happen. You're either going to want some more information about coaching, and we'll talk about that. You'll say thank you and we'll be done, or I'll send you some resources. That way they know at the end what is happening. And if they still have to think about it, you say, great, who else needs to be considered in your decision? And then they're going to tell you, well, we have this thing going on. Okay, how long do you need? What's going to help you make the decision? Have them write down that vision, strategy, everything we talked about, and then bookend it. When would you like to talk again? Because I want to check back in on how X, Y, and Z went for you. We can get on the phone at the same time and see if you want to do coaching or not. No problem. So that's the way that piece is done. And that way you're closing the loop on it as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful reminder.
Good. All right, Sandy, let's get your question in before we close out.
Well, you may have went through it. I was just wondering, when you said let's coach, when you're watching them process the money and all, do you normally coach them on that, the process of the money, what's going on with them with the money, or do you just start and ask them what?
Great question. So I'm not going to coach them right then. Let's set up some time to coach. Today we were just getting to know each other, but let's have a coaching conversation. Bring anything that you want to move the needle on.
You said, well, let's go into a little short coaching session.
You can. Some coaches do that. I don't do that. I let them sit in it. They can sit in it. I offer up the coaching. Let's coach. Let's schedule some time to coach. They're just having a feeling. We do not need to be scared of our client or potential client's feelings. They are only scary if we decide that they're about us, that we did something. We didn't do anything. We mentioned money. They knew it wasn't free. They have a money story. They're just nervous about money because they're nervous about money because of their own money story. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Did we get all the questions answered for tonight?
Can I slip one more in?
Yeah, burning desire, go.
Do you ever say, so what can you afford?
No, I don't. It starts to feel like the price is right to me. So I don't usually say that. Instead, I will let them say something like, you know, I really want to do it, but is this all that you offer? You know, or I really want to do that, but that's out of my price range. I let them say it. I don't ask them, what can you afford? I let them get uncomfortable and creative. People pay for what they want. Think of all the people you know with boats and timeshares and purses and shoes and whatever else that they couldn't afford it, but they have it. The different things. So let them squirm with the money part. It's completely fine. If they really want it and can't afford it and try to figure it out, they will tell you, I really want it. I don't have this money. This is how much I have. And then you can create something right there for that amount if you want to. So sometimes I'll make it a shorter amount of time with a person. So like, it just depends, and I'll get creative and I'll say, you know, I've never done this one before, but we can get creative. Here's what I could offer for that. Or sometimes I tell them, you know, I'm not always the coach the first time you talk to me. Some people have to work up to it. Here's a number of someone who's within your price range. And I've had that work too, where then they hire you. Mark, I see your hand. Hold on one second. Susan, does that answer it? Good. Go ahead, Mark.
One comment. I have a current client, on and off, middle school teacher, and you know how much teachers make, not very much. So I totally enjoy working with him. So I gave him a discount.
Yeah.
And it works for both of us.
Yeah, you can do that. You know, I'm not going to say that I've never discounted anyone or gifted someone something. I do that sometimes. I do. I never know when I'm going to do it. It's not like, well, 4 times a year, you're lucky enough to get it's nothing like that. It's intuitive that I know that I'm going to do it. And I just do it. And so you don't have to worry about that either. If in the moment you feel called to discount it, you can do it. But I encourage you not to do it right after you say your price. Let them squirm, let them figure it out, get off the phone, have the coaching session with them. If they still haven't figured it out, still let them squirm, and then see what intuitively comes to you. But it's not just, oh my gosh, I have a live one on the wire. If I let them off the phone now, I'll never hear from them again. Okay. Good questions, everybody. I love a good dynamic conversation. You know, money is only a problem mostly in our minds, and then it's a problem for the other person in their mind. So most of the time what's happening when we're talking about money is your view of money and the other person's view of money. And then it's this collision of story, right? It's this collision of story. And sometimes it really is about affordability, but most of the time it's about, did they find it valuable? So if you slow it down, you're going to be able to get underneath the money story, but you have to find it valuable first. Okay, Stairway to Sixers. I will see you tomorrow. Coaches who are not in Stairway to Six, I hope to see you next month. It was really good to see you guys here. And if you need anything, reach out in the group, email me, and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.